Paramahansa Paribhrajakacharya Sudarsa Shishimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ji Nandpuri Vaishnava Ji Namacharya Harira Thakur Ji Prem Se Gaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivastava Gopaswami Ji Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Shyamakund Radha Krishna Govardhan Ji Vrindavan Dham Ji Navadvip Dham Ji Mayapur Dham Ji Jagannath Puri Lila Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Ji Shri Shri Gauri Nitai Shri Radha Sadaki Rangi Bhakti Devi Tulsi Devi Ji Yung muna mahigang ki. Sambil bakulun ki. Kami na ang Sankirtan ki. Kirtan Gandha ki. Maximum distribution ki. Jagannath Rakyat Festival ki. All Premanandi. All glories to the assembled Lord. All glories to the assembled Lord. All glories to the assembled Lord. All glories to the Lord. Namaste, Namaste, Jai Narasimha Bhagavan ki. Jai Bhakti Maharaj ki. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
I'd like to welcome each and every one of you to the Hare Krishna temple.
Thank you so much.
Yes, yes.
Thank you.
And as some of you might know, today is a special day. What is that? This is the day they celebrate Rath Yatra in Puri.
Oh, nice.
So, yeah. So there'll be a special class given by His Grace Balabhadra Prabhu, who, as you might know, some of you might know, Balabhadra Prabhu is actually the temple president of Philadelphia. And he's been doing selfless and dedicated, steady, very beneficial service for the Hare Krishna temple in Philadelphia. Maybe I think 8 years like that. So I'd like to appreciate him and listen attentively to his class today. He'll be speaking a little bit about Lord Chaitanya and his activities in Puri during the Rath Yatra. Also today, there's a special feast, Prashadam feast for Lord Jagannath. I don't think it's ever been made before in this temple, a special kind of khichdi. You know khichdi? You say bhuna khichdi? You say that? It's special when they make it in Puri. And Srila Prabhupada said that this should be made for Lord Jagannath on Rath Yatra. So, if you haven't seen it before, you'll find out today, or tasted it before. Plus also there's the sweet called kaja. What is it? Which is, what is it? What is it? Kaja. Some say H, some say don't say H. But anyway, that's supposed to, they make it in Korean also. It's like they say the tongue. They say the tongue? I don't know what I'm talking about. So that'll be after the class. Then there'll be, are they going to do japa first or what's that after? He's going to speak, encourage everybody to chant some japa like he's got some YouTube. And then class, and then another party, and then Prashad. So give a very warm Isman Philadelphia welcome to please, yes. This is garden flowers.
Hare Krishna. I was actually meditating on starting the program with japa, so it's part of the temple program anyway. But there's a special request for the japa. Okay? That is, please hear it. Don't just chant it, but please hear it. So when you're chanting, the mind will try to drag you away, it's guaranteed. You'll be thinking, what time is Prashad on? When is the class going to end? It's so hot outside. A million things go through your mind. But Srila Prabhupada said the best training for the mind is to neglect it. It's like a child may be crying sometimes and gets hungry. So the mind's going to make a lot of suggestions. I suggest don't fight with it. Because you can't beat it. You can't beat the mind. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta actually said you should beat it with a shoe or a stick. But it's very hard to control this mind. So what I find is, if a thought comes in your mind, just ignore it. You know how to ignore things, right? You don't want to hear a certain kind of music? Maybe you like rap or you like rock, whatever. I don't like rap, I'm not going to listen to it. It may be playing, but you're not going to listen to it. So in the same way, all the stuff that's coming in our minds right now, just forget about it. Focus on the holy name. So we're going to chant for a few minutes, and we're just going to focus on the holy name. Someone asked me once, what should I think of when I'm chanting? Nothing. Just the sound. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. So for those of you, the very rare one or two that maybe don't know how to chant, I think they give these to everybody, right?
Yes.
Okay? These are not New Orleans Mardi Gras beads. These are japa beads. And japa is the premier sacrifice that we can perform with the grace of the Lord. So we start off on the large bead with your finger and your thumb and the middle finger kind of rolling it around. And we say, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And as I said, please listen to the sound. No matter what the mind is doing, don't worry about it. Just listen to the sound. Here we go. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna having problems with this computer, it keeps cutting out. Somebody uses my iPhone to read. So, today, we're going to be hearing about the glories of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Who is the manifestation of Krishna in this Kali Yuga, who came over 500 years ago to spread the chanting of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra as a prime benediction for humanity at large, as the most important sacrifice, as the highest form of charity. Everything is included in chanting this Hare Krishna Mantra. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is that personality who brought this chanting for the entire universe, all creation. So when he was in Jagannath Puri, and they had the Rath Yatra Car Festival, it's described as beautiful dancing, the ecstatic dancing of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And me personally, whenever it's close to Rath Yatra, because we're getting close, we're just a couple of months away. We didn't have Rath Yatra last year, right? Yes. The only other time we missed is when the Pope came.
That's not
Here,
true.
we didn't miss it here.
I changed his name to Fruit.
No, that's a little bit, but anyway. So, we're gonna do it this year. The Rath Yatra team is working on it very diligently. And to prepare ourselves for this Rath Yatra, something I used to do during my time as Temple President in Atlanta. Every year before Rath Yatra, I would read this pastime. And actually, the last 2 days I've read it. This will be the 4th time in the last couple of days. It is so amazing when you hear about how Lord Chaitanya danced in the Rath Yatra and all the things that happened. Now, I'll make a few comments as we go through, but mainly I want to hear, and I hope you all want to hear, the glories of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And to start, we'll begin with, I'm just going to do a little bit of the Bengali. Actually, I would love to read all the verses in Bengali, but we don't have enough time. So I'm just going to do the first 3, comment on the 3rd, and then we're going to hear some of these beautiful verses. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda
Jai Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda
Jaya Vaita Chandra Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda
Jai Jai Chandra Jaya Guru Bhakta Vrinda.
You say.
You do.
Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya. Say.
Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya Jaya
Jaya
Nityananda
Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Vaita Chandra
Jai Dvaita Chandra Jaya Guru Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Vaita Chandra Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. So, first verse. Sajiya Krishna Chaitanya Sri Ratagre Nanartaya Vinasi Jagatam Chitram Jagannato Vishnitam. May the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna Chaitanya, who danced in front of the car of Sri Jagannath, be all glorified. By seeing his dancing, not only was the whole universe held in wonder, but Lord Jagannath himself became very much astonished. Yeah. Joy, Joy, Sri Krishna Chaitanya Nityananda, Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. All glories to Sri Krishna Chaitanya and Prabhu Nityananda. There's an exclamation point, that's right. Nityananda.
Jnana.
Am I the only one that knows that name?
No.
Nityananda.
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 It's a sad soul that has never chanted the name of Nityananda, so let's not be sad souls. Nityananda.
Nityananda.
Wow, beautiful. All glories to Advaita Chandra. Advaita
Nityananda.
Chandra. And all glories to the devotees of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. All of them. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu be glad. Now, this next verse is these are the instructions for hearing these pastimes. You didn't know that. There's some instructions here how to hear these pastimes. Yes. Jai Shrotagan Shunakari Ekaman Rate Yatraya Nritya Prabhur Paramamohan. All glories to the listeners of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. Please, Krishnadas Kaviraj is begging us, please hear the description of the dancing of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu at the Rath Yatra festival. His dancing is very enchanting. Please hear of it with great attention. So those are the instructions. Hear it with great attention. What did I say about attention? Anything else? Ignore it. Forget everything else. Just please who's trying to hear. Because you will feel ecstasy. Not because I'm reading, but because you're hearing this. Ariyasu, what is our favorite verse? Manchita, what is that verse? You know the translation? I know you know. A little bit louder, a little bit louder.
Those thoughts of my free will for me, the lines of goodness made to my service, and you provide great satisfaction and bliss. All over my one another. You converse with God.
They derive great satisfaction and bliss. Does anyone want bliss besides me?
I
We want it. There's so much negativity, isn't it? Everywhere. We want bliss.
What do you want?
Bliss seekers, yeah. So if we hear this very nicely, I guarantee you'll have bliss. You can take it home. As they say, you can take it to the bank, transcendental bank. You get bliss. So, Ardina Mahaprabhu Hana Sabadan Ratri Uti Gana Sangha Asange Koila Prata Shnan. The next day, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his personal associates got up in the dark and attentively took their early morning baths. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his personal associates then went to see the ceremony of Pandu Vijay. During this ceremony, Lord Jagannath leaves his throne and gets up onto the cart. King Pratap Parudra, in person, as well as his entourage, allowed the Pandu Vijay ceremony to be seen by all the associates of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his prominent devotees, Advaita Acharya, Nityananda Prabhu, and others, were very happy to observe how Lord Jagannath began the Rath Yatra. So that's, the mood is being set. When we have Rath Yatra in September, the last Saturday in September, correct?
No.
September 25th. Yes, we're working on it. To support the devotees, the blessings of Lord Jagannath. So when that festival happens and Jagannath's on the cart, we should all be sad.
No.
Yes, oh
No.
my God, here we go
Oh my
again.
Oh my
It's
God.
too hot, let's do this, let's do that. No, we should be
Happy.
to observe how Jagannath begins the festival. Fortunately, here in Philadelphia, there's a nice program right before the Rath Yatra cart, and everyone is looking at the cart. Now, but we have to be careful. Once we start moving, sometimes you don't look back at Jagannath. Yusuf and myself, we were fortunate to be in Philly, and I think maybe David was here. I'm not sure who else was here when Prabhupada came in '75. There's actually a movie of the ISKCON Philadelphia Rath Yatra, and I'm in that movie in the corner. Here's what I'm doing. I'm looking at Prabhupada on the cart. I mean, what? And all the devotees are looking at Prabhupada on the cart in the DT. Everyone is focused forward, ecstatically dancing before the deeds. Why? We'll find out in this pastime why that's important. There's some special benedictions for that. The very strongly built Daitas, carriers of the Jagannath deity, were as powerful as drunken elephants. They manually carried Lord Jagannath from the throne to the cart. It's a really nice purpose, but it's too long, I won't read it. But I just want to share with you how Jayapataka Maharaj describes his part. You know, he's a really descriptive personality with his whole body, with his smile, with his hands, everything. Recently in Atlanta, we celebrated the Paniyata Festival. And Jayapataka Maharaj was there via the internet, Zoom. And he was laughing, and he was crying, and he was laughing, and he was crying. He said, I wonder what it would be like to be there with them. Can you imagine that? To be there with Lord Jagannath and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? Can anyone imagine that? Why are you all so quiet? Can you at all imagine that? What it would be like to be in that presence? It's like when we saw Srila Prabhupada here in Philly. Those of you who were not even born, who were not there, you can't even imagine how amazing that was. It was absolutely phenomenal seeing Srila Prabhupada. So,
We should be completely absorbed in this pastime, and it will be just like being there. The spiritual master, he's actually absorbed. It says, Mahaprabhu Kirtanamita Gita Vaditra Majam Manasroda Sena, relishing within his mind the pastimes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So we can relish in our hearts and our minds the pastimes of the Lord and feel almost like we're there. So when Jagannatha Maharaj describes this pastime, he just becomes so overwhelmed, actually, thinking about what this scene looks like. So further on, while carrying the deity of Lord Jagannath, some of the Daitas took hold of the shoulders of the Lord, and some caught his lotus feet. Lotus feet? Jagannath really doesn't show his feet, right? So how does his lotus feet get carried? It's very interesting.
I think,
So then it says, the Lord Jagannath deity was bound at the waist by a strong, thick rope made of polyester?
no,
Silk. Silk. From the two sides, the Daitas caught hold of this rope and raised the deity. There's a quick little story about putting that rope under the deity or that protection. This happened in Atlanta when we first started. We revived the Rath Yatra Festival, I think 1988. We were doing it up to 1980. We stopped and we started again in 1988. So I was responsible for the deities. So we had these Pelican, how do you say, Pelican or Pelican? Pelican. Yeah. So we made these really nice Pelicans. And we were going through the park in front of the temple. And I was thinking, maybe Balaram is not tied down nicely with that rope. And I was meditating on the side. So what I did, I took the rope that was around this part of him to hold him back. But I didn't pay attention. He fell on his face. And I was thinking how important it is to make sure the deities are secure. And that's what these Daitas are doing. Making sure the deities are so secure. Strong puffed up cotton pads called tulis were spread out from the throne to the car. And the heavy deity of Lord Jagannath was carried from one pillow-like pad to the next by the Daita. So that's when Jagannatha Maharaj does his part. This is how the Jagannath deity is moving. But if you've seen the video from Rath Yatra in Puri, you see they have these big turbans and all kinds of feathers and he's rocking. So Maharaj was making that motion like Jagannath. We were rocking with him. Just swaying. So then when he hit those pads, the cotton went up in the air. Just such a beautiful scene. While the Daitas carried the heavy Jagannath deity from one pad to the next, some of the pads broke. And the cotton contents floated into the air when they broke. They made a heavy cracking sound. Our Jagannath deities here are very big, very large. I don't think any one person can carry it. Very powerful deities. So you can imagine the Puri Jagannath. It's so big. Can you imagine it? Yes or no?
how tall is it?
I'm not sure. Zoom it up. How tall are the deities in Puri? 6 feet. Wow. Amazing. Lord Jagannath is the maintainer of the whole universe. Who can carry him from one place to another? The Lord moves by his personal will just to perform his pastime. While the Lord was transported from the throne to the car, tumultuous sounds were made on various musical instruments. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was chanting, Manima, Manima, but he could not be heard. It's a very short purport. The word Manima is used to address a respectable person in Orissa. Lord Jagannath was being respectfully addressed by Sri Chaitanya in this way. While the Lord was being carried from the throne to the car, King Prataparudra personally engaged in the Lord's service by cleansing the road with a broom that had a golden handle. The king sprinkled the road with sandalwood scented water. Although he was the owner of the royal throne, he engaged in the menial service for the sake of Lord Jagannath. Some years ago in Cleveland, I took it up from his house when we lived in Cleveland. We had the honor of hosting the King of Puri. I had invited him to come to Atlanta for the Rath Yatra Festival, but he got sick and he couldn't come to Atlanta, so he ended up in Cleveland with some family members there from Orissa, Cleveland. So So he came to Sukadapu's house that night for dinner. And we had a nice time. And then he gave a nice talk about Srila Prabhupada. I was so impressed the way he talked about Srila Prabhupada. But then he was describing the Rath Yatra. And he said the people in Puri are so crazy for Rath Yatra that the shop owners, because the wheels don't turn. Did you know that? They don't turn. They just go straight. So he said a shop owner will feel so blessed if somehow the cart veers off and then knocks over his shop. You remember that? He said the shop owner will feel fine, so blessed, you just wrecked my shop. Because the Puri cart is none different from the Lord in his transcendental forms. Very amazing. So this king, even though he's a king, he's just humbly serving the Lord. That is the mood of Rath Yatra. Although the king was the most exalted, respectable person, still he accepted menial service for the Lord. He therefore became a suitable candidate for receiving the Lord's mercy. So there's one of the secrets, everyone. You want the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, yes or no?
Yes.
Yes.
Only she wants Prashad, the rest of you.
Yes.
Yes. How do you get it? Be humble. One of the first principles of knowledge is humility. And humility means not being anxious for the satisfaction of being honored by others. So the king is naturally an honored personality, but he's not. I don't care for honor right now. I want to serve Jagannath. I want Jagannath to be happy. And that is my happiness. Not to be king, everyone saying you're such a great person. No. You know, Prabhupada said one time, the more you decorate Jagannath, the more Krishna conscious you become. The more you try to satisfy Jagannath, the more Krishna conscious you become. It's very, very important. So the king was very exalted, but menial service he did. So everyone in our community, when it's time for Rath Yatra, don't let the temple persons who are organizing come looking for you. Go begging them, can I have some service? When Srila Prabhupada came to Chicago, when I got initiated in Chicago for Rath Yatra, Mother Tiffany was asking, so can you tell us sometimes about me that initiated? One thing that happened, the night before Rath Yatra, there was a competition. Who could do the most service? And all the devotees were in this big room doing service, cutting, putting together, and I won part of the prize. But do you know what the prize was? Some big room, eggplant that Prabhupada had personally ate. That was the prize. And we were just going crazy with that. Unbelievable. So that time to serve, Krishna's giving us an opportunity to serve. Of course, it's enjoyable. Susukham kartamapya. It's very blissful. Only because we're pleasing Krishna. We're not seeking to be so-called happy, we want this, we want that. We just want to make Lord Jagannath happy. Srila Prabhupada explained one time that Radharani, her mood with Krishna is that she doesn't ask for anything. Zero, nothing. As devotees who are aspiring to become Krishna conscious, we have so many things we may be asking for. Sometimes we ask Krishna, please take away this anxiety, Krishna do this, do that. But Radharani, who we should try to follow, she doesn't ask for anything. Nothing. That is the actual mood. Krishna, I just want you to be happy. So that time for us to practice is Rath Yatra. That's the time for us to practice. Of course, 24/7 we can practice, but that is a special time. So if we render nice service to Lord Jagannath, he will be very happy. Everyone was astonished to see the decorations on the Rath car. The car appeared to be newly made of gold, and it was as high as Mount Sumeru. I have to read this purport because it's very important. In the year 1973, there was a gorgeous Rath Yatra festival in London, England, and the car was brought to Trafalgar Square. The London daily newspaper The Guardian published a front-page photo caption, ISKCON Rath Yatra is rival to the Nelson Column in Trafalgar Square. The Nelson Column is a very impressive statue of Lord Nelson and can be seen from a good distance, just as the residents of Puri compared the Rath Yatra car to Mount Sumeru. The residents of London considered the car a rival to the Nelson Monument. I'm sure Prabhupada was very proud to say that because coming from India during the time of British rule, I'm sure he was very happy to see Rath Yatra in London. The decorations included bright mirrors. Now, this is interesting. Hundreds and hundreds of chamaras, white, whisked, and made of yak tails. They're all like around the side of the cart.
Yeah.
The cart moves. On top of the cart were a neat and clean canopy and a very beautiful flag. Now, some of us may not think the canopy is valuable. I mean, who would want a canopy, right? It's like, nobody would want a canopy. We had Rocky out in New Orleans one year.
Is it rain?
And the ladies laid out the canopy the night before Rock Theater to put on the cart. And they went to get some soft drink or something that was tired. They came back, guess where the canopy was? Stolen.
Oh, no.
No exaggeration, stolen. We had to make an emergency, shipment from Washington somewhere. And I'm thinking, who would want a canopy? But in New Orleans, I'm sure they made some clothing out of it. It's like, what does that mean? So the canopy is very, very important. Even mundane people can see the values of things. The car was also decorated with silken cloth and various pictures. Many brass bells, gongs, and ankle bells were hanging. As they say in the music world nowadays, can you feel me? Can you feel this ecstasy? Are you feeling it? No, not yet. Are you feeling it? Come on, do you feel a little bit of the ecstasy?
Yes.
Don't be shy. This is the time not to be shy. We're in the ecstasy of Lord God. So, for the pastimes of the Rock Theater ceremony, Lord John and I got aboard one car. And his sister, what's her name?
Subhadra.
Subhadra. And elder brother, whose name?
Balaram.
They got aboard 2 other cars. Wow. For 15 days, the Lord had remained in a secluded place with the supreme goddess of fortune and had performed his pastimes with her. Very short. The 15-day period of Anavasara. How do you say that in Orissa? Anavasara. Anavasara. It's also called Nibrita, in honor of the solitary place where the supreme goddess of fortune lives. After living there a fortnight, Lord Jagannath took permission from the goddess of fortune to leave. Having taken permission from the goddess of fortune, the Lord came out to ride on the Rath Yatra car and perform his pastimes for the pleasure of the devotees. I'm just going to read a small part of this report. In this connection, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur comments that as an ideal husband, Lord Jagannath remained 15 days in a secluded place with his wife, the supreme goddess of fortune. Nonetheless, the Lord wanted to come out of seclusion to give happiness to his devotees. Think about it. He wants to come, give happiness to all of us, so we can be blissful. The fine white sand spread all over the path resembled the bank of the Jamuna, and the small gardens on both sides looked just like those in Vrindavan. As Lord Jagannath rode in his car and saw the beauty on both sides, his mind was filled with pleasure. So when we go, what is that road we go down for Rock After Independence or something? What's the main road that we go to the park for Rock After? What's it called?
Ben Franklin Parkway.
Ben Franklin Parkway. I don't think it's so beautiful on both sides, right? It's just a mundane place. But because it's Rath Yatra, we can't see the beauty, but it must be there for Lord Jagannath. Because Lord Jagannath is
It becomes
Krishna.
beautiful.
He can make everything beautiful. Am I right?
Yeah.
He can make everything beautiful. So we should be meditating on this. And just like the Brahmana who offered the Lord in his meditation sweet rice. And he thought, this sweet rice may be too hot for the Lord. Let me check it. In his meditation. Let me touch it. And he burned his finger in his meditation. Opened his eye, oh my God, my finger burned. What is this? Because his meditation was so powerful, it created this reality. So our meditation, when Jagannath is going down Ben Franklin Parkway, we want Jagannath to see beautiful. Just like there's a brahmachari in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Neelam? Srinath Brahmachari. And in his meditation, he created a road with flowers, beautiful flowers for Lord Chaitanya. But then the road stopped at one town. And in his meditation, he realized Lord Chaitanya will not go any further than this one. particular place. And you see that reading in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He meditated, created this beautiful offering for the Lord. So when we're going down, I'm going to do it. I'm asking all of you to do the same. When we're going down Ben Franklin Parkway, for the pleasure of Lord Jagannath, don't see all those country signs. I mean, people, where's India? Looking for the flags and all that. Don't look for that. Create a beautiful pathway for Lord Jagannath. Is that possible? Yes or no?
Yes. Yes.
Only those who believe it. It's like in Christianity, they talk about faith. Faith is like you tell the mountain to move, the mountain moves. So if we believe strongly enough that that Ben Franklin Parkway is strewn with flowers and decorations for Jagannath, it's just waiting to receive Jagannath, it will be there for his pleasure. On both sides. And his mind, Lord Jagannath's mind, was filled with pleasure. The pullers of the car were known as Ghodas. And they pulled with great pleasure. However, the car sometimes went very fast and sometimes very slow. Sometimes the car would stand still and not move, even though it was pulled very vigorously. The chariot therefore moved by the will of the Lord, not by the strength of any ordinary person. So this will be explained a little bit more. I want to give you a little side pass on Chicago. We went there for Rath Yatra, the year I got initiated. I remember distinctly because we were on State Street in Chicago, very famous road. So when we got to the plaza where Srila Prabhupada was going to perform his activities preaching, the car would not move. We just stopped. And all the devotees were pulling, the car still moving, still moving. And Prabhupada was on the car like this. Every time we put him with rock. And he was not disturbed, he was just very peaceful, waiting for Jagannath to let the car move. And it just, Jagannath will move when he wants to move. And we were thinking, come on, let's go. We gotta move. And Prabhupada was just peacefully sitting, waiting for Jagannath to make it move. No ordinary person can move that cart. So we're all pulling the cart, thinking, we're pulling. We're just allowed to do it by Jagannath's mercy. Only by Jagannath's mercy. I remember in New York, Rath Yatra, when Jagannath Maharaj was there, and he was in his wheelchair. And he would not stop until they brought him to that rope. He had to get to that rope. You remember that sort of? He had to touch that rope. And he was just looking up at Jagannath and holding that rope. How wonderful. As the car stood still, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gathered all his devotees and with his own hand decorated them with flower garlands and sandalwood pulp. Paramananda Puri and Ramananda Bharati were both personally given garlands and sandalwood pulp from the very hands of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This increased their transcendental pleasure. Similarly, when the Dvaitacharya Nityananda Prabhu felt the touch of the transcendental hand of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they were very pleased. The Lord also gave garlands and sandalwood pulp to the performers of Sankirtan. The two chief performers were Sadhu Damodar and Srivas Thakur Ki Jai. There were altogether 4 parties of Kirtan performers, comprising 24 chanters. In each party there were also 2 mridangas, or 2 mridanga players, making an additional 8 persons. I always love this part. It's really amazing. When the 4 parties were formed, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, after some consideration, divided the chanters. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ordered Nityananda Prabhu, Dvaitacharya, Haridas Thakur, and Viveshwar Pandit to dance in each of the 4 respective parties. Wow. Sadhu Damodar was chosen as the leader of the first party and was given 5 assistants to respond to his chant. The 5 who responded to the singing of Sadhu Damodar were Damodar Pandit, Narayan, Govindadatta, Raghava Pandit, and Sri Govindananda. Dvaitacharya Prabhu was ordered to dance in the first group. The Lord then formed another group, with Srivas Thakur as chief man. The 5 singers who responded to the singing of Srivas Thakur were Gangadas, Adidas, Sriman, Subhananda, and Sri Ram Pandit. Sri Nityananda Prabhu was appointed as a dancer. Another group was formed consisting of Vasudeva, Gopinath, and Murari. All these were responsive singers, and Mukunda was the chief singer. Another two persons, Srikanta and Ballava Singh, joined as responsive singers. In this group, the senior Haridas Thakur, was the dancer. So sometimes you may wonder, there's so many names in these books, you gotta read all these names, but you realize saying the names of these great devotees is part and parcel of our development of Krishna consciousness. It truly is. When you hear these names, you should feel some ecstatic feeling. These are very, can you imagine they're with Lord Chaitanya? How special are these devotees? Directly with Lord Chaitanya. Because that when we hear Srila Prabhupada's name, we should feel ecstatic, right?
Yes.
Srila Prabhupada ki.
Jai.
Srivas Thakur ki.
Jai.
Mukunda ki.
Jai.
Srikanta ki.
Jai.
There you go. Look at that. The Lord formed another group, appointing Govinda Ghosh as leader. In this group, the younger Haridas, Vishnudas, and Raghuva were the responding singers. Two brothers named Madhava Gosha and Vasudeva Gosha also joined this group as responsive singers. Vakreshwar Pandit was the dancer. Now this is so funny. My dear godbrother Vakreshwar Pandit. He's one of the best dancers in ISKCON. I said, probably gave him that name. I wonder if he knew that. I don't know. Vakreshwar Pandit, when he dances, because he has this kind of upward muscular body and he's just very strong. You've seen him dance? He dances, right? He dances like a madman. It's beautiful to watch him dance. So when I read this the first time, I went, Vakreshwar Pandit. My God, Vakreshwar. There's another devotee in Atlanta, his name is Vaishnavananda. He's the one that made me a devotee. But before he was a devotee, he was a yogi in New York. I can't remember his guru's name, but anyway, he was a yogi, very accomplished. When you read Chaitanya Charitamrita, Vaishnavananda is a missing yogi. I thought, did Prabhupada know him? Give him the exact, and he gave me the name, Balabhadra Bhattacharya Das. And Balabhadra Bhattacharya Das was the one that traveled with Lord Chaitanya through the Jharikanda forest. And I'm a little bit like him, because if you see in the painting, Lord Chaitanya has all the animals dancing. And Balabhadra Bhattacharya is lions and tigers and bears, no. But even more importantly, he was a servant of Lord Chaitanya. So my service in Atlanta for many years was serving for Lord Chaitanya, bathing with these. So then it says, there was a Sankirtan party from the village known as Kumina Gram. And Ramananda and Satyaraj were appointed the dancers in this group. It's getting exciting. There was another party that came from Shantipur and was formed by Advaita Acharya, of course, Shantipur. Achyutananda was the dancer. Who's Achyutananda? His son. Who's Achyutananda? Advaita Acharya had some sons. Some were called useless, and some were the good sons. And this is one of the good sons. Achyutananda was a dancer, and the rest of the men were singers. Oh, I wanted to mention that His Holiness Bhakti Swarup Damodar Maharaj, who passed away some years ago, he told the story about in Manipur, the Gaur Purnima festival, they do it for 1 month. And every day, a different village would come and do kirtan. And they had their own dress, their own style, day after day after day, different kirtans. So when I read this, I'm thinking about all these kirtan parties coming from different places. Like at Rath Yatra, normally we have kirtan parties from all over. New York, Bushara, all these different places come from Florida. I come from Atlanta. Like Grace Additional to God, I get to lead a little kirtan. What's the name? Achyuta Gopi comes from New York. All these different devotees come with the different styles of kirtan. So that's in the mood of this. These people were singing in a different place. In that group, Narahari Prabhu and Raghunanda were dancing. 4 parties chanted and danced in front of Lord Jagannath. Now remember, in front of Lord Jagannath, for his pleasure. Sometimes we get into this little huddle. We've seen devotees that get in a little huddle, and we don't get with the deities. We have to be careful of those little huddles. It's okay we get fired up and all that, but we have to remember who we're chanting for. Darshan Krishna, who are we chanting for?
Jagannath.
I did not hear you at all.
Jagannath.
Jagannath. For his pleasure. And we're looking at him, hoping that he might see us. Like Srila Bhaktisiddhanta said in Srila Prabhupada quoted, we should not act in such a way to see Krishna. We should act in such a way that Krishna sees us by our service. Krishna says, look, this one's doing some service. Oh, so nice, this one's doing some service. And then Radharani will say, yes, Krishna, this one's doing this service. Give him some mercy. There were altogether 7 parties of Sankirtan, and in each party, 2 men were beating drums. Thus, 14 drums were being played at once. The sound was tumultuous, and all the devotees became mad. 14 redundants. Wow. It's powerful. All the Vaishnavas came together like an assembly of clouds. As the devotees chanted the holy names in great ecstasy, tears fell from their eyes like rain. That's what should be happening to us. We should be so ecstatic. Happily, tears are coming from our eyes. We can't even stop it. Dancing and chanting. But we have to do it for Lord Jagannath. You want that reaction where you feel the ecstasy and the tears coming up? You have to do it for Lord Jagannath. The whole meditation has to be to please Lord Jagannath. When the Sankirtan resounded, it filled the 3 worlds. Indeed, no one could hear any sounds or musical instruments other than the Sankirtan. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wandered through all 7 groups chanting the holy name. Repeat, Hari!
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 Raise your hand. Hari!
Hari!
One more.
Hari!
Raising his arms, he shouted, all glories to Lord Jagannath.
All glory to Lord Jagannath.
All glories to Lord Jagannath.
All glory to Lord Jagannath.
You guys are wonderful. This is incredible. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then exhibited another mystic power by performing pastimes simultaneously in all 7 groups. Everyone said, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is present in my group. Indeed, he does not go anywhere else. He is bestowing his mercy upon us. Not another group. Actually, no one can see the inconceivable potency of the Lord. Only the most confidential devotees, those in pure, unalloyed devotional service, could understand. Lord Jagannath was very much pleased by the Sankirtan, and he brought his car to a standstill just to see the performance. King Prataparuja was also astonished to see the Sankirtan. He became inactive and was converted to ecstatic love of Krishna. When the king informed Kashi Mishra of the glories of the Lord, Kashi Mishra replied, O king, your fortune has no limit. The king and Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya were both aware of the Lord's activities, but no one else could see the tricks of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Just like during Panihati, when Nityananda was there with the chipwrecks, no one could see that Lord Chaitanya was there. And Nityananda would take something from the pot and give it to Lord Chaitanya, but it looked like he was putting it in the air because you couldn't see Lord Chaitanya. So it was just disappearing. He put it out and it would just disappear. But Lord Chaitanya was there. Only those who are unalloyed devotees. The word unalloyed means no alloy, no mixture. If you want to come to that higher level, there cannot be any mixture. No jnana, no karma, no yoga. None of those things can help us get to the love of God. Jnana karma narvatana, anukulena Krishna nirsivanam. Only that pure devotional service, just for Krishna's pleasure. So again, Rath Yatra is a wonderful opportunity for all of us together to practice giving loving service to Krishna. Only a person who has received the mercy of the Lord can understand. Without the Lord's mercy, even the demigods, headed by Lord Brahma, cannot understand. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had been very satisfied to see the king accept the menial task of sweeping the street. And for this humility, the king received the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He could therefore observe the mystery of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's activities. Although the king had been refused an interview, he was indirectly bestowed causeless mercy. Who can understand the internal potency of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? Almost finished. When the two great personalities, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya and Kashi Mishra, saw Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's causeless mercy upon the king, they were astonished. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu performed his pastimes for some time in this way. He personally sang and induced his personal associates to dance. According to his need, the Lord sometimes exhibited one form and sometimes many. This was being executed by his internal potency. Indeed, the personality of Godhead forgot himself in the course of his transcendental pastimes, but his internal potency, Lila Shakti, knowing the intentions of the Lord, made all the arrangements. Just as Lord Sri Krishna formerly performed the Rasa Lila dance and other pastimes at Vrindavan, Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu performed uncommon pastimes moment after moment. And there was one purpose I just want to share with you if I can find it real quick. And we'll finish with that. Let's see. This is the part I'm just using this phone. Anyway, let's finish with a prayer that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu chanted. It says here, offering obeisances to the Lord before the dance, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu raised his face toward Jagannath and prayed as follows. You all know this prayer. Namo Brahmanya Devaya, O Brahmanahitaya Cha, Jagadhitaya Jaya, Govindaya, O Namaha. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto Lord Krishna, who is the worshipable deity for all Brahminical men, who is the well-wisher of cows and brahmanas, and who is always benefiting the whole world. I offer my repeated obeisances to the personality of Godhead, known as Krishna Govinda. Jayati Jayati Devo Devaki Nandano So Jayati Jayati Krishno Krishni Vamsa Pradipaha Jayati Jayati Megha Shamala Komalango Jayati Jayati Prithvi Bhara Nasho Mukunda. All glories unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is known as the Son of Devaki. All glories to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is known as the light of the dynasty of Vishnu. All glories to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose bodily luster is like that of a new cloud, and whose body is as soft as a lotus flower. All glories to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who appeared on this planet to deliver the world from the burden of demons, and who can offer liberation to everyone. Jayati Jana Nivaso Devaki Janma Bharo Jaduvara Parishat Swire Gopir Asyan Adharmam Stira Chara Vichina Gana Shusmita Shri Mukhena Vraja Pura Varitanam Vardayam Karmadevanam. Lord Shri Krishna is He who is known as Jananivas, the ultimate resort of all living entities, and who is also known as Devaki Nandana, or Yashodanandana, the son of Devaki and Yashoda. He is the guide of the Yadu dynasty, and with his mighty arms, he kills everything inauspicious, as well as every man who is impious. By his presence, he destroys all things inauspicious, for all living entities, moving and inert. His blissful smiling face always increases the lusty desires of the gopis of Vrindavan. May he be all glorious and happy. Naham vivo na nachara patirnapi visho na sudro. Naham rani na chabriha patirno manasto yatirva. Kintu pradam nikila paramananda punamritabde. Gopi Bharta Pada Kamala Yor Dasa Dasa Dasa. I'm not a Brahmana. I'm not a Kshatriya. I'm not a Vaishya or a Sudra. Nor am I a brahmachari, a householder, or a vanvas, or a sannyasi. I identify myself only as a servant of the servant of the servant of the lotus feet of Lord Shri Krishna, the maintainer of the gopis. He is like an ocean of nectar, and he is the cause of universal transcendental bliss. He is always existing with brilliance. So, having recited all these verses from Scripture, the Lord again offered his obeisances, and all the devotees with folded hands also offered prayers to the Supreme Personality of God. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki Jai! Lord Jagannath ki Jai! Lord Balaram ki Jai! Srimati Subhadranarayani ki Jai! Bhakti Mahotsav ki Jai! Bhakti Mahotsav ki Jai! Bhakti Mahotsav ki Jai! Oh, Premanandi! Thank you all very much. Hare Krishna. Any question? Sita? Who's our MC? Yes.
Do we know if there will be a rundown in Philadelphia this year?
They are working on it. Seriously. I think we've already made
September 25th is the day, and they've accepted the application, but they haven't ruled finally on it. But then it looks positive that it'll be happening.
So in order to tip the scale, let's all pray for it to happen. Let's just make sure it's great. Lord, we want to do our best.
And there's a lot of service.
Yeah.
Can we do it now?
So you're trying to say we should say Hare Krishna and beg Lord Jagannath to make sure this goes
Pray that it
happen?
happens on the 25th?
Yes, we should ask him. Please, Lord. Let's discuss it. Hare Krishna.
Krishna,
Krishna, Krishna.
Krishna.
Hey, go to the window. Hare Hare Ram.
Hare Ram.
Ram Ram.
Ram
Hare Hare.
Hare
Ki.
Jai.
There you go. So, Ron Kirkwood had to take his son to the hospital in his baseball game. I think he broke his finger or something like that. So he sent a message to apologize for not being here. So I'm not sure.
Narayan?
Take 15, I'm sorry.
Narayan, what was that?
Yeah. He's a strong kid. I'm sure he'll be okay. If not, we can do a little kirtan real quick. No questions? No comments? Okay. Jai Jagannath, Jai Jagannath, Jai Jagannath, Jai Jagannath. Jai Jagannath, Jai Jagannath, Jai Jagannath, Jai Jagannath. Jai Jagannath, Jai Jagannath, Jai Jagannath, Jai Jagannath.
Jai
Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Nam